Hook, first, 3 lines. Punchy, I come home early. 14 hours earlier than anyone expects me, and the one sound that stops me in my tracks isn't an alarm, it's my 8-year-old's laughter. He's laughing, and he's speaking a language I never thought I'd hear from him, and the woman on the floor with him is someone I've ignored for 2 years. Yeah, that happened. What follows changed everything I thought I knew about talent class and how we see each other. Act 1. The Doorway. My name is Marcus Hale. I run Hale & Rowe. Capital, I fly a lot, and for the last 2 years I've been a man who hides in work because it hurts less than looking at my son and not knowing how to help him. Ethan was diagnosed with autism at 3. For 5 years we spent more than $500,000 chasing specialists, fancy clinics, therapists with degrees from places people put in brochures, and nothing stuck. He barely looked up, he barely spoke, and I learned to be practical, to delegate emotion to the people who seemed qualified to hold it. So when a meeting in Tokyo got canceled and I caught an earlier flight back to Seattle, I expected quiet. I expected the penthouse to smell like lemon cleaner and cold marble. Instead, the elevator opens and I hear voices. Spanish-French, a soft Asian cadence, like a radio tuned to a world I don't live in. Underneath it, Ethan's voice, higher, more alive. My heart does a weird flip, and I walk down the hallway in my socks like a thief because the scene in front of Ethan's study wasn't a meeting I'd scheduled. The door is cracked. There on the floor with flashcards and colored string maps and little percussion shakers is Rosa Bennett, the woman who washes our floors, folds my shirts, and keeps the house from tipping into chaos. She's cross-legged smiling, telling a story about a boy who travels the world. Ethan is holding her hand and repeating phrases in Mandarin, with tones that are real, not the broken, hesitant sounds I'm used to. He laughs when she makes a silly face. He looks up. He answers a question. I stand in the doorway and feel the world rearrange itself. It's humiliating in a very human way. I have 12 specialists on retainer, and this woman who answers to Rosa at the top of the stairs is giving my son a life I paid for but couldn't buy. 3 feelings hit me at once: awe, confusion, and a prickly thing that looks a lot like resentment. Where did she learn this? Who told her she could do this? And why does it make me uncomfortable that someone I've called help can do what experts couldn't? Rosa jumps up when she sees me, professional reflex snapping into place. She straightens her shoulders and switches to the tone she uses when she's on the clock. "Mr. Hale, I thought you were due tomorrow. I'll get dinner ready." Ethan looks confused, like maybe he's done something wrong. I keep my voice thin and direct. "What is this? What are these materials?" And she quietly, like someone who's rehearsed apologies 1,000 times, says, "He was not connecting in class, sir. I tried another way." Act 2. The work and the crack. We sit down that night over tea because I need to know where the lines are. Rosa tells me she grew up on the south side, that her mother cleaned offices downtown, that she started working nights at the airport when Jamal was born, her son, and she listened. She listened to travelers, to announcements, to people rushing past, and she became fascinated by how words carry other worlds. She taught herself 7 languages with library tapes, borrowed textbooks, and long nights with a headset and a cheap laptop. She cared for Jamal. She paid for insulin. She couldn't risk a freelance audition for a translation gig because it didn't come with benefits. When she says this, I feel my chest tighten. Not just guilt, real shame. The kind that comes when you realize your daily assumptions are built on invisible labor. She says, "I tried applying for translator jobs at hospitals, at courthouses. They told me to get the certification. It costs more than I make in a year." My fancy watch suddenly feels like a weight. I realize I have the power to change one life in the span of an evening, but the problem is bigger than me. 2 weeks later, my firm is in a pinch. An international deal with a family-owned manufacturing group is on the line, and their patriarch only speaks his regional dialect. Our hired interpreter cancels last minute. The partners panic. I think of Rosa folding my shirts in the laundry room and teaching Ethan verb conjugations on her day off. We have 6 hours. It is absurd. It is risky. It is human. The morning of the meeting, Rosa shows up in a suit 2 sizes too big. Her nervousness tucked under a borrowed blazer. The boardroom is the usual tension of fitted leather and cold coffee, and my colleagues give her that look, the one that sizes a person up and checks the box, liability. David Carter, my partner, whispers, "Marcus, are you sure about this?" The whisper is hope and warning at once. She steps up to the table, and what happens is not polite surprise. It's a quiet demolition. She doesn't just translate. She frames meaning. When the Italian patriarch uses an old proverb, she doesn't give a literal translation. She tells us how that proverb lands in his life, how it signals trust, how it demands reciprocation. The man leans forward. His face opens. The deal finishes faster than we thought it could, and he signs with a handshake that lingers on Rosa's palm a beat longer than on mine. Back at the office, the reaction fractures along lines. I should have seen applause from the clients, bewilderment from some partners, thinly veiled anger from others. "We can't have our housekeeper in a room like that," James, our head of operations, says bluntly. "What message does that send?" Patricia, our CFO, says, "If she were Ivy-educated white woman, we'd call her genius. Because she's Rosa, our defensiveness kicks in." Her words land like a slap. We applaud talent when it fits our stories, and we doubt it when it doesn't. Act 3. The Stage and the Reckoning. Then Riverdale Prep calls. Ethan's school has International Day, and he's supposed to recite a passage in Arabic, pulled from a textbook butchered by auto-translate. He panics. Rosa finds him and works with him for 5 nights. Rhythm, movement, story. She makes the words feel like a game then, like a promise. On stage, with chandeliers and parents who fund college endowments, Ethan walks up shaking, and for the first time in years performs with presence. His pronunciation is right, his eyes find people, his voice carries. The applause is seismic. People come up afterward, donors and teachers, and a neurosurgeon with a hand like a paw. They ask, where did he learn that a small tsunami of curiosity turns into offers? A professor who wants to observe a magazine that wants to tell the story. Suddenly, Rosa is visible and the world is awkward about it. Some want to put her in a box labeled Inspiration and call it a day. Others want to hire her and pay. But Rosa, always practical, says she isn't looking for handouts. She wants a path. She wants the School of Education to create a fellowship for people like her, people who learned in kitchens and buses and late library hours. She wants Jamal to see that his mother can be more than invisible work. What follows is messy and beautiful. Offers come from unexpected places. A university invites her as a fellow. A foundation offers to underwrite Jamal's education. My firm starts an internal audit of the degree requirement culture that filtered Rosa out in the first place. A headline runs people debate, and somewhere between the op-eds and the congratulations, a simple truth arrives. Qualifications are real, but credentials are not the only measure of competence. Systems that gatekeep by pedigree throw away real seconds of human worth. The closing. Not a fairy tale, Rosa accepts a fellowship. Jamal gets scholarship aid. Ethan keeps learning. Now with a team built around his strengths and with someone who sees him as a person, not a diagnosis. But the ending isn't tidy. Not for me, not for the firm, and certainly not for the world. Those 70 million people Rosa talks about. The skilled, the overlooked, the underemployed. They don't all get a spotlight. Some get more doors, some stay invisible. We didn't fix the system with one thank you dinner. What changed was a ripple, a promise that we try differently, that we hire based on skill, not just on paper, that we ask questions instead of assuming. If this story leaves you with anything, let it be action. Here's what you can do when ask the person who serves you what they dream about, not like a charity case, but like a fellow human. 2. If you're hiring, consider skills over pedigree. Recommend someone you believe in. 3. When you hear someone dismiss another person because of their job title, call it out, kindly, loudly, in the room. So tell me, did I do the right thing? Did we do enough? Was it fair that Rosa had to prove herself 100 times over while the rest of us waved degrees around like shields? Drop a comment. Argue with me. Tell me your story about someone who was invisible until they weren't. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and if you've seen talent get ignored at work, say so below. I want the conversation, the messy human one, to keep going. After all, seeing each other is the only thing that will change anything.